You've helped so many people. So why does it feel like no one sees you online? Imposter syndrome is the silent reason you're not showing up fully, and it's costing you thousands of dollars. So I want to show you how you can break free from it once and for all. Thanks so much for joining me for the Wisdom to Wealth podcast. This is the podcast where I get to interview the wealthiest entrepreneurs and business owners in the world. I am your host, Shamar Star Cox, TV producer and marketing coach. My goal is to help 6 and 7 figure business owners get seen and get paid by creating binge-worthy videos on social media. I am also the founder of the AI Content to Cash Challenge. Yes, we have now rebranded the Convert Content to Cash Challenge into AI Content to Cash Challenge, where we show you how to use AI tools in order to create content faster so that you can convert faster online. If you want to get access to the challenge, all you have to do is DM me the word challenge accepted, and I'll personally send you an invite to the challenge. If you are on YouTube, you can actually head to contenttocashchallenge.com. Let me see if I can get it. There it goes. It's displayed on the screen right now. You can actually head to that site in order for you to get access to the AI Content to Cash Challenge. So today I want to share with you how you can overcome imposter syndrome. So this is for my business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches where you feel like an imposter. So you're not showing up all the way for your audience. You're not showing up all the way when it comes to creating the content either. And it's super frustrating because you know that you should be reaching more people. You know that you should be helping more people, but something inside of you keeps you stuck. I was also there. The same thing happened to me. When I first started creating content full time, well, let me take it back. Rewind. I'm going to take it back. So I am a TV producer. I worked in television for over a decade. And God called me to quit my job in 2020. But prior to Him calling me to quit my job, I actually wanted to grow in my career to become the CEO of NBC. Yes, that's what I said. That was my goal. That's what I wanted. But I felt like in my career, I wasn't growing. It didn't matter how hard I worked. I wasn't getting paid what I wanted to get paid. I was always being overlooked. And it got to the point where I was really frustrated in my role that I found myself giving up. But instead, God told me not to give up. He told me to quit. Right. And in my mind, that was the most bizarre thing He could ever tell me to do because who's quitting a job, God? Not me. Right. So that's where I was. This was January 2020. But I knew that He had something for me that was so much bigger than me staying at a place that I felt like was keeping me stuck. Like, who can relate where God is calling you to do something big? It may not be quit your job. It may be start a business. It may be start a family. It may be get married. Like, it could be anything. But part of you, there's a fear there that's hindering you from doing it. So that's where I was. But by faith, I decided, let me go ahead and quit my job. Well, after quitting about October 2020, God told me to start creating content full time. And now I'm nervous to create this content. I'm scared actually, because one, I don't want people to see me on video. Being a TV producer, it was so much easier to be behind the scenes, behind the camera. That's where some of you are. You're hiding behind your logo. You're hiding behind your websites, and you want to make impact, but you don't realize that you're hiding. And it's time to come out. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? Thank you so much. Right. So it's time for you to come from behind your logo, from behind your websites, from behind your business cards. For those of you who go to networking events and all you do is hand out business cards all day, right? So that you can actually make a bigger impact. So there I was now, October 2020. I'm creating this content full time. And here's what I noticed. My content starts going viral. I start taking off on Instagram and TikTok. I grow 10,000 followers very quickly on TikTok. I grow like 5,000 on Instagram. Now, let me tell you about Instagram. I was on Instagram since 2018. So that's 2 years prior to 2020. And when I was posting my video content, it was not growing. I had 1,000 followers and it was stuck there for years, to the point that I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal. Like, everyone just has 1,000 followers and only the elite can have 10,000 followers, right? Well, God quickly changed my mind as I saw my TikTok growing and my Instagram growing in 2020. But the thing is, how many of you know that followers don't equal dollars? Because there I was now growing my social media account, but I wasn't making any money yet. And so I said to God, Lord, you told me to start creating content full time, but why am I not making money? And He said, because you have nothing to offer. So around that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to take time off of social media and I'm going to start, I'm going to create a program that I can offer to my audience. Do you know creating content for free felt very easy for me after I got over my fear of being on camera. But then when it came time to start selling, that's when the imposter syndrome started showing up. I started thinking to myself, there's no way I can help people. Why? Because I felt like I failed in my career. There I was, a TV producer for over a decade, and I couldn't even get to where I really wanted to be. I wanted to be CEO of NBC. I couldn't even get to executive level in my career, no matter how long I worked. So in my mind, I felt like a failure. And now God had put me on social media and He's telling me, start helping your audience with marketing. But I felt like an imposter. I felt like, do they really want to hear from me? How can I help them if I felt like I couldn't help myself? And this helped me to start looking into what was really going on, what was really holding me back. And that was the imposter syndrome. So, the first thing I want to share is the root fear behind imposter syndrome. Because any limiting belief you have, oftentimes is rooted in fear, right? And so, the root fear for imposter syndrome is not feeling worthy and thinking that you can't do this, right? You feel unqualified to do the thing that God is calling you to do. Deep down, you just don't want to mess up and you don't want to let people down. That's where that fear is coming from. Because if it was just for you, easy peasy. But now that other people are involved, that's where the imposter starts showing up. So I had to identify emotions so that I can know what is actually hindering me from moving forward. When I was able to identify this, the next thing was actually seeing how it was playing out in my life and in my business. Because of that, I didn't want to create the content that sells. I didn't want to ask for the sale, right? Because I kept thinking that there's no way I'm qualified to do this. There are so many other business owners who are better at this than I am. So why would they come and listen to me? That's what I kept saying to myself. And I remember one day being in my living room, completely frozen in fear when it came time to create content that sells. And I remember coming across some Instagram video. It was the most simplest thing. It was this guy, he was pretending to be in the studio, and he had a line that says, what you think you sound like. And he was singing a song. He was like, and it sounded horrible. But then he said, what you actually sound like. And then he ran it back again and he sang the song and he sounded amazing. And he's like, this is what imposter syndrome has you doing. Imposter syndrome has you looking through a lens where your skills is less than it actually is, when in all actuality, it's not. You're great at what you do. People love what you do. People can't even do what you do. What you do comes so natural to you that you don't think that it's a skill, but it is a skill. And that's what I had to learn. Video content came so natural to me because I'm a TV producer. I was already working in the industry for some time. But in 2020, when the world was moving over to Reels and TikToks, there was a lot of people who struggled. And for me, it came so easy. So it made it simple for me to be able to sell this. But because it was so simple, I kept thinking, no, I'm not worthy of this, right? And then, hey, Chastity, how you doing? Chastity, I just sent 2 business owners your way. They're in need of some accountants, right? So what I had to do was I had to, once I identified these emotions and I realized how it was showing up and how it was stopping me, one of my friends actually said to me, girl, you are not a social media manager. You're not a social media coach. You're a TV producer. You're going to show people how they can produce content that sells. When she said that to me, that helped me to shift my mind, which is the most important thing when you're feeling the imposter syndrome. Yes, identify the real fear, right? Imposter syndrome is just the name that everyone puts on it. But what's actually holding you back? Do you feel like you're not worthy? Do you feel like you're not qualified? Do you feel like you can't do this? Are you afraid you're going to let people down? Give the fear a name and then see how it's costing you in your life and in your business. It's those fears that's keeping you small, right? And then God did an amazing thing. He sent a friend to speak life into me, right? So for some of you, you're going to have friends who speak life into you. And then for some of you, it's going to have to be you. Those I am statements, your affirmations, that is you speaking life over you in order to dismantle that fear. Because the reality is that fear is not real. It's just an illusion to keep you bound. Now, I like working with mindset coaches, right? Mindset coaches are amazing. I've met a couple of mindset coaches, even some therapists, where they'll be like, oh, that the fear that's coming up for you, it's just your mind trying to protect you, right? And they say that so that you can feel better about it. But in all actuality, here's how I see it. No. What they say it's your mind trying to keep you safe. That's what they say. That's what fear does. It's supposed to keep you safe. But the reality is, when it comes to building wealth, there's no such thing as safe. There's no such thing as comfort. Have anyone ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki? Hopefully I said that right. Hey, Drew. Hey, Jason. Right? Have you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Like I've read it. And one of the first things that Robert talks about is when it comes to building wealth, you can't play it safe. There's no such thing as comfort. And if you're only trying to build financial security, you're not going to build wealth, which means that building wealth comes with risks. So if your mind, the fear that's showing up, if that's trying to keep you safe, in all actuality, it's trying to keep you broke. That's it. Not just broke financially, but broken in spirit, so that you don't show up and you're not a blessing to your audience. And so I had to understand that. And when I understood that, it made me want to release this fear because it was false. It's trying to protect me from building wealth. It's trying to protect me from making an impact. Is your imposter syndrome doing the same for you? Okay, now, some people may tell you that you can't overcome imposter syndrome. You can learn to live with it. You can learn to deal with it, all these things. But the reality is you can overcome anything in your mind because God created your mind to be extremely strong and very powerful. Your mind believes whatever you tell it to believe. So if you no longer want to have this imposter syndrome, guess what you're going to have to do? Break this belief. So here's how God broke it for me. I remember being in one of my friend's class. It was on Clubhouse, and he was talking about imposter syndrome. And he said to us, like, how many of you are feeling imposter syndrome? And we all raised our hand, right? And then he said, have you even ever defined the word imposter before? And that blew my mind because the law of definition, that's a real thing. Whenever we're studying the Bible, yes, I'm a Bible scholar. I love studying the Bible. Whenever you're studying the Bible, there's a certain law that helps you to understand scripture, which is called the law of definition. Understanding a definition can help you to understand a word and how it's being used, right? Now, some people may think definitions change over time, but actually God's definitions don't change. It stays the same. The world may pervert and twist definitions, but that doesn't mean that it's changing. God's definition is the same. So I always look for God's definition. That's the time for Bible study. We'll go over that another time, right? So anyway, he defines the word imposter, and I'm going to bring it up for you all to define it too. I'm going to drop it in the chat so you all can see it on the screen, right? So imposter, I just went to Google real quick. This is dictionary.com. Hopefully you can see. Okay, there it goes. It's displayed on the screen, right? So imposter means a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others, especially for fraudulent gain. That right there was game changer, because the next thing my friend asked, so he defined the word imposter, and then he said, how many of you are doing that in your business? And everyone who had their hand raised saying that they had imposter syndrome, we all put our hands down, because in all actuality, none of us was doing this. The word imposter means that someone is pretending to be someone else in order to deceive others. Are you doing that? If you can confidently say you're not doing that, it's time for you to release imposter syndrome, because that's what imposter syndrome is. It is pretending to be someone else in order to deceive people so that you can gain something fraudulently. I'm sure no one has ever explained this to you this way. And you want to know why? Because the world is constantly defining imposter syndrome like this. Here we go. I'm gonna put it on the screen, right? This is how the world defines imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is a behavioral health phenomenon described as a self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. That's how the world defines it. But here's a very interesting thing. Do you see how imposter is spelled here? Imposter. So a lot of people always spell imposter that way. If you actually just took that word by itself, just take Imposter, drop it into Google and ask it to define just that word, you know what's going to happen? The word is going to change to Impostor. You want to know why it does that? Because Imposter is not a real word. It's not a real word. So here you are coming into agreement with this definition that, oh, it's a behavioral health phenomenon, and not realizing that imposter itself is just not that type of imposter. It's not a real word. The true word is Impostor, and this is the definition, which is a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others. So if you're not doing that, then you can actually release this. You can release this. Some of you are like, what? I never heard of that before. I know you haven't, because the world tries to trick you into accepting identities that are not yours. And I also fell for the same lie until I had to let it go. When I was faced with the truth, I had to let it go. The Bible says the truth shall make you free. And who the Son sets free is free indeed. When you understand true definitions, you don't have to come into agreement with what the world says, right? So now that I understood that imposter, one is spelled with an O, not an E, and it means to pretend to be someone else in order to deceive others, I realized I'm not pretending to be anyone else. This is me. I have this many years in television production. I am a TV producer. I do understand marketing and I know how to teach it to my audience. And that helped me to stand firmly in who I am. But here was the number one thing I had to do after understanding the information. I received the truth. I now had to accept the truth. But in order for me to accept the truth, I had to denounce the lie. I had to denounce imposter syndrome. I had to come out of agreement with it. I am not an imposter. I do not have imposter syndrome. I denounce this in the name of Jesus. That's what I did. Completely denounce imposter syndrome. That was 2021. Do you know, to this day, I don't feel like an imposter? I know people who have gone through programs for imposter syndrome, and 1 year later, they still feel it. Why? Because you don't understand the truth and you haven't fully denounced it. Right now, have I gotten attacked before by imposter? Yup, I did. And then I reminded myself, I ain't no imposter. I'm just new to this. I'm just new to this arena and I just got to learn. That's it. And when I understood that, I no longer had to be bound by imposter syndrome. Yes, Jason said, I reject that world definition. Absolutely. That's really what sets you free. You don't have to believe what the world says. But here's the thing. I don't just reject imposter syndrome. I do that with illnesses too. Like one time I was feeling sciatic pain, right? And I could have said that I have sciatica, but I didn't. I said sciatica is attacking my body because I don't have it at all. And when I researched sciatica, I started to understand it's just the inflammation of the sciatic nerve. So I don't have sciatica. My sciatic nerve was just inflamed and I needed to do something about it. And I did. But I do the same thing with illnesses. If the flu comes to me, I'm like, the flu's attacking my body. But I don't have the flu. And I'm very mindful of my words because I recognize my words shape my reality. My words shape my mind. If you keep believing in imposter syndrome, your body will react that way. And it makes it hard for you to show up. And then it costs you. It costs you showing up live. It costs you showing up in your videos. And it costs you being a blessing to your audience. But you can choose to reject the world's definition and believe God's definition, the true definition, and denounce imposter syndrome because that is not you. Here's the last thing that I had to understand too, that visibility isn't vanity. I have a desire to be famous. And I remember when the desire came upon me, I felt strange about it. And I went to God and I was like, please remove this desire because I don't want this if it's not from you. And you know what God said to me? I put the desire there. That's what he said. I put the desire there. There are some of you here where you desire having hundreds of thousands of followers because God put it there. There are some of you where you desire to be on big stages talking to millions of people because God put it there. Why? Because visibility isn't vanity, it's stewardship. In order for Jesus to really make the impact that he was making in this world, he had to be visible. When he was invisible, and when I say invisible, I mean in the Old Testament, before he was walking this earth, his people strayed a lot. So he said, forget about that. Let me just come down off my throne. I'm going to come into this world and they're going to see me. So now he was visible. Guess what he was able to do? He was able to grow his following because people saw him. and he stewarded that. And that's the same thing that God has for you. For those of you who are watching, whether you catch this on the replay or what, if you have a desire to be famous, if you have a desire to have high visibility, it's because God put it there because you have a platform that you're going to be blessing thousands and hundreds of thousands of people with. There are some of you where you're like, oh, I'm scared to go live. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. That fear is trying to block you from destiny. And now the question is, will you allow it or will you rise above it? For me, I chose to rise above it. And I started to recognize whenever I felt fear on something, it just meant that I needed to move in that direction. That's it. Because was it Second Timothy? I don't remember the exact verse, but Second Timothy says, God did not give you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So if I'm feeling fear right now that's hindering me from walking in purpose, what do I need to do? Well, God didn't give me the spirit of fear, but he gave me power, love, and a sound mind. Let me denounce the spirit of fear, but I will release power, love, and a sound mind. That's what I need. I need to release that over me and move in that. Right? So that's how I was able to overcome imposter syndrome. I hope that that helps you to be able to overcome it as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Wisdom to Wealth. We do help you to overcome your limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, fear of selling, fear of sounding salesy, and fear of judgment. We help you to overcome these limiting beliefs so that you can show up confidently and boldly on your platforms in order to convert your followers into customers and build generational wealth. So if you're in here and you're like, Star, that's what I need. Your story really inspired me. I want to know how I can let go of these thought processes too. Then join us in the AI Content to Cash Challenge. In the challenge, not only do we help you to create content that sells in 5 days or less, we also show you AI tools to help you create that content faster so you can convert faster. And we show you how to get out of your own way so that you can show up boldly online. You all have a wonderful day. I'll be back again on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern with another episode of Wisdom to Wealth.